Alright, so doing a little grilling video for y'all today, just showing you how I do things. I know if you've seen my Instagram post, I post quite a number of photos of some deliciously cooked meats, and so just figured I'd do a little video for y'all. So what I've got is a Bless rump roast from my local grocery store down the street. I'm not exactly sure what a blessed rump roast is. I mean, just in the Father, Son, Holy. I have no idea if it's been blessed or not. What is a blessed rump roast? No clue. No clue. Not my expertise. But for $4.39 a pound, for just a hair over 2 pounds of slab of meat, we're going to see how she does, right? So what I've done in this case, not always do I do this with a roast, typically not a full-size roast, I definitely would not do this with, but this particular one, the particular cut of meat, for my marinade, I decided to slice this guy up into some roughly quarter inch thick slices, just down to the fat, the back slab of fat. So they're nicely thin, fairly thin sliced, obviously not deli thin, down to the fat. So the fat slab is keeping it all together here. But by doing that, I could really get the marinade within just 3 or 4 hours of marinating. Really get all of this nice and tender. And then I'm going to do a dry rub all up inside every cut of the meat here, and then throw it on the smoker for about 2.5 to 3 hours, and it'll be delicious. But let me go ahead, pull this out and let it sit on this cutting board here for a minute and go over the marinade. So the marinade that I typically do with just about anything, beef wise and pork, I got the apple cider vinegar. I put a little bit of that. I don't measure none of this stuff. None of it gets measured. So apple cider vinegar, Worcestershire sauce, squirtsy squirts, and some hickory liquid smoke. I kind of bounce back and forth between the hickory and the mesquite. It's just whatever I end up getting in the mood for. And then barbecue sauce, the brand isn't necessarily all that important to me. I've not really noticed that big of a difference, but I do like to add some kind of sweet and smoky or spicy barbecue sauce to it, and just do some barbecue sauce. So usually just about 3 or 4 squirts worth, so maybe 2 to 3 tablespoons of barbecue sauce in with the Worcestershire, the vinegar, and a bunch of squirts of the liquid smoke. Usually about a third of this bottle, somewhere between a quarter to a third of these little bottles, and then some water. And so I mix all that together and add whatever amount I get. Then I add almost double that with the water, almost double that. So it's kind of like 60% this stuff to 40% water, and that gives me enough of a marinade for whatever container. Finding a container that's just a little bit bigger than the slab of meat is always kind of a little tricky, but I manage. So that's how I do the marinade. And again, I marinate for about an hour per pound, and then I go to the rubs. So this is what I'm going to do for the rubs. These are my 2 favorites. I like the applewood and I like the sweet and smoky. Again, I just go back and forth between those two, whatever I end up getting. Just trying to change it up, so when I cook the meat and however it seasons, it's not always seasoned exactly the same every single time. So yeah. Sometimes I like to, once I use those, after I do a couple pieces of meat and the container's partially empty, I like to add the smokehouse maple in there. I just pour about half of this into this guy and then mix it all up, to kind of, again, just changing it up. And I love smokehouse maple. I love your roasted potatoes in the oven. Love flavoring those with the smokehouse maple. Otherwise, for the potatoes, the roasted garlic and herb is kind of my gold standard. But love doing the smokehouse maple to them every now and again. Again, can't go wrong with the flavor of bacon and smoke. Can't go wrong. So alright, I'm gonna use the sweet and smoky this time. Give the applewood a break, and I'm going to go in between every single layer and put some of this rub all up in that meat. Baby, get all up in there, right? And then we're gonna bless it one more time before we throw it on the grill, on the smoker. Alrighty, so we are at the grill now. It is nighttime. This sucker has been smoking for at least 2 hours now. Yeah, almost 2.5 hours. And I just opened up the lid, so that's why it's reading 172. It's gonna crank back up. I just turned it from the smoke to 200, and we're gonna just continue, prime, hold, and crank this guy up there. Get those pellets into that burn pot, so we can get this up to temperature. And holy hell, does it look delicious! Look at that. I ran the wood skewers through it to help hold it all together, keep it all together. But look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited to eat this. I'm actually going to rip off this little bit right here. But yeah, we're going to crank it up to 250. Over the next 30 to 40 minutes, and get the internal temp on that meat good, so it's completely done. But that shit is delicious. Alrighty, so we are just about ready to take this freaking roast off of the smoker grill, off of my pit boss here. And before I do that, I kind of wanted to share a few grilling tips, tricks that I've come across doing myself, using these Pit Boss pellet grills, smoker grills. So first thing first was, I'm getting old. I'm getting super old. Yep, I'm 35, and damn am I getting old. So, memories going. No, I'm just kidding. I got tired of flipping through and trying to find the page for all the cooking temps and times and all that good information in the manual that comes with the grill. So I kind of made my own little cheat sheet and did the smoking grill guide here. I have a little laminator, so I did a nice little laminating job, so that way I can keep that out here with the grill and the pellets and not worry about it getting ruined. But yeah, I just did all the basic information for different types of meat, different cuts of meat, all that good stuff. And then with your cooking times and temperatures and da 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 da. And then on the back side, I put the pellet information. Not that I so much personally need it, but I made 3 of these, one for my dad, one for my brother, and one for myself. So it's just kind of nice to know and have this this reference key easily accessible, and not have to go look it up or flip through the manual book if you didn't throw it away or it didn't get ruined. So yeah, it's just nice to have it here. Again, my favorite blends are the Pit Boss competition blend, which is hickory, maple, and apple. That's what I'm actually cooking with right now. And then I also like the Cuisinart, which is Walmart's brand. Their maple bourbon. I really like their maple bourbon. It gives some nice flavors. And then this is the Pit Boss guide here that shows your different types of meat based off of the competition blend: hickory, whiskey, mesquite, apple, cherry. Pretty much can't go wrong with apple or cherry or hickory. Again, the competition blend is kind of, a mixture of those 3 that just, is good for everything. But yeah, this is a nice thing to have that I made, and I kind of customized it a little bit to my experience with cooking meats on this grill over the last roughly 2 years that I've had this grill now. So yeah, and I put, always check and make minor adjustments, for your grill cooks differently than mine. And ain't that the goddamn truth? No kidding. Every grill is different. Even if somebody buys this exact same grill, this Lexington Pit Boss, my grill different from your Lexington Pit Boss. And again, different cuts of meat, different ratios and amount of marbling, or how thick of your blanket of fat is on a roast or whatever. There's lots of things that factor in needing to make minor adjustments. So this just gives me a basis, just a good basis to go off of, and I just cook how I cook. But yeah, I like to store my pellets down here in this 5-gallon tote, and I use an old plastic nail box as my scoop. So I'm not super fancy with that, and I just straight up store that sheet right in the top there, and that keeps the pellets dry, keeps the pellets protected, keeps I have a brother-in-law who's got a dog that likes to eat these damn wood pellets. Crazy ass dog. So another tip, set my cutting board out of the way. Another thing that I do is in the hopper here for the pellets, I use this threaded rod. You can use a wooden dowel rod or whatever, just something that's plenty long enough to hang on, that you can hang on to help get those pellets to go down into the hopper feeder where that crankshaft is, and try to use up and try to time how much pellets you put in a hopper to how long you're cooking at the temperatures that you're cooking. You'll eventually kind of get the hang of it and figure out how much you need for what you're cooking. But trying to get that down low and time it just right to use up all the pellets that you pour into your hopper. Otherwise, you gotta back out this screw and take this little plate right here and empty them out, because you don't want a bunch of pellets sitting in here, especially if you live in a moist environment like I do. You don't want a whole bunch of pellets sitting in this hopper, because the moisture can get to them, and then they don't want to burn as well, and then you have trouble getting your grill started up and staying lit properly and cooking properly. So yeah, kind of a key to keep your pellets dry. right? No lubrication needed. Wink, wink. But yeah, so it's time. It is time to pull this guy off. And boy, am I excited to get this into the house. Slice them up and serve them up. Definitely want to let the meat rest. Usually about 4 or 5 minutes for every pound. So if you know, up to about 15 minutes. I don't let anything. I don't care if it's a 20-pound turkey or a 30-pound ham. I'm not going to let it rest for more than 15 minutes. But you get the idea. So as far as letting the grill go, letting it cook, obviously the burn pot's still going and still burning. You simply just turn the dial, the temp dial, all the way off, and you leave it on. And what this does, if you don't know, is it will, whatever pellets are in the burn pot, the blower fan's still going, and it'll continue to burn those last handful of pellets until it goes out. And that way, whatever little tiny bit of pellets you have in your hopper can just sit in the hopper, and they're not going to burn. Once that flame's out in there, the blower actually shuts off. It shuts off all on its own. So then it'll just, the power light will still be there, but the blower will turn off on its own. I like to come out after dinner and go ahead and shut it off and unplug it, and just know for 100% that my grill is off and not doing anything that I don't want it to do. But yeah, that's pretty much the basics of doing the Pit Boss pellet smokers grills. And it is so damn good.